Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. I'm your host Sean Grammer here with me as usual, Mr. Mark Morrison.
Howdy.
And well, today we got a double dose of indie showcases that just happened a few hours ago that I'll talk about. Mark's been playing Ayuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. I have more to say on Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. There's some interesting stuff with NetEase announcing big stuff with Marvel Rivals and then announcing some other weird, including layoffs. You also got more Xbox news in the form of introducing their AI gaming, potentially gaming component, and some other things as well. So we'll get into all that and more right after this.
You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
All right, so really quickly here, let's just get this housekeeping stuff out of the way so we can get into the show here. Thank you for whether you watch us live, whether you watch us later, or you listen later on podcasts. We appreciate however it is that you check out the podcast each week. Just giving a little programming note. Next week will be the final episode of the show for 2 weeks, as I'm going to be going off to Puerto Rico for a couple of weeks. So the plan is that next week we'll do our regular episode, which would be the first week in March 3rd, and then we'll be off the 10th and 17th, and then we'll come back either that Friday the 21st or for sure Saturday the 22nd. We'll do like a catch-up show on, what Mark's been playing. I'm only going to have my Switch, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do remote play for either one of my systems from here, but at least catch up on any big news that's been going on. Lots of big games are also going to be coming out during that period too, especially when I've been looking forward to Split Fiction. Maybe I'll get to play some or whatever before we do the show so we can talk about it. And hopefully Mark will have maybe gotten to play Assassin's Creed Shadows by then. And we'll talk about some Assassin's Creed Shadows here in a little bit too. They could just, poor Ubisoft keeps having unfortunate news with this game. But yeah, so I just wanted to give that little programming note here, just so that, when the 10th and 17th come around and there's no episode, you don't think that something happened to us. We're all right, hopefully. So that being said, thank you again for checking us out, however it is that you do. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, not only do you get what we do here with Video Games to the Max, you also get our other two wonderful folks that do shows. If you enjoy anime, Otaku Cafe does a great job of talking about all the weekly anime each week. So be sure to check them out. And they're also on podcasts at Search Otaku Cafe, and you can find them there. If you're more of the movies, TV show type person, Volunteer Broadcasting just did their Captain America Brave New World. Both of us have seen that, so maybe we could talk about that at the end as well. Forgot to put that in the notes, but we'll put it in there. And yeah, make sure you go check them out. They do a big, deep review of the movie. So if you haven't watched enough reviews or stuff about it, go check them out too. But all right, let's get into the gaming stuff here. Let's start out with the actual video games. You said you have put in about 45 hours in Ayuden Chronicle.
Yeah.
Heroes at this point.
Because last time I just got to like the castle. That was only like 10 hours in. So this is like, a lot more than that. Yeah, it's still good. It's, like I said, it's still slightly good budget Suikoden, but like it's a lot, now that I have my castle, it's a lot better. And I'm, I can recruit heroes. They have like 70 characters unlocked, I think. Maybe
Right.
a little less, around there. So there's one problem and one funny thing with the game. Most of the bosses in the game are actually pretty easy, But there were two instances where like I could have gotten really screwed. One is pretty early on when you have to face like two bosses, and then you can kill one of the bosses, but then the second boss has a nice little rage mechanic. But like once you get it down like halfway, then it's like, all right, now I'm pissed, and starts really going after you. So
Yeah.
and you can't like you can go back to the town, but you can't like leave the area. You're like stuck there. Uh so it took me a few times to do that one. And there's another part later on where you are riding this tank going back to a town. You have to face four bosses in a row
Oh wow.
without barely healing and no store or anything like that. I did it because I had a lot of health items on hand, but I'm like, this sucks. Like the the funny thing though is I broke the game.
How did you break the game?
One of the characters one of the rooms you can build in your castle is it's called the Mysterious Room, and it's almost like a VR room where you can go into it and basically do like VR battles, like battling against old monsters, but they're like super tough now. So I entered it. I didn't know what it was initially, and like I faced off against some bees, and like I was level 42, and the bees managed to kill four of the six characters I had. Like they were doing
Wow.
250 damage. That's like most of the health of my characters at that point. But my other two characters managed to get them down, and then they jumped from level 42 to level 62.
Wow.
And I was
That's a
like,
heck of
huh,
a jump there.
yeah. And then I died the next round, and then I went back into it, healed up. Also, like you can use items in this room, but they don't actually come out of your inventory. They just kind of mirror what your inventory has. So it doesn't, you can use whatever you want because it doesn't really matter. So I went back into the room, did another battle. I managed to keep everyone alive this time. The level 62 characters didn't gain any levels, but the other characters went from like 42 to like 53. And I'm like, this seems weird. Like, is this bugged out or what's going on? But no, apparently like that's just the way it's supposed to work. And I'm like, then was I massively like under leveled for the game? Or what's I thought I was fine, but apparently not. Like so it's interesting. Now I have like level 63 characters, and I did like a regular boss fight in the game, and I decimated the boss because I was like 15 levels higher than it. So that helped quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh, but yeah, I really like it. I'm gonna keep at it because I like that type of sweeping style game, and collecting the characters is fun. Some of the characters are a little not great, but a lot of them are good.
I forgot to mention the day that I leave is when the Suikoden 1 and 2
Yeah,
remasters
they're
come out.
right.
So you'll definitely, I'm sure, have been playing that. So we'll get to talk. Interesting.
I mean, I'll probably get it physically if I can. I mean, I doubt we'll get a code, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't even know who you reach out to for Konami, honestly.
Yeah,
It's like they have not been pumping out games recently. So, you know, not like we really know, yeah, hey, let's just go to this person.
right.
And then I'm sure that most people, by the time, probably most people are going to be looking for them for when Metal Gear Solid like remaster comes out.
Yeah,
So,
right.
you know,
And then
uh,
did you review Metal Gear Solid Survive? No, no review code for you.
oh yeah, we just both had. How did we play that? I forgot. Did one of
A
y'all?
beta.
Oh, the beta. That's right. Okay, I never
Yeah.
both of us played that,
Yep.
which was interesting. Um, all right. Anything else?
No, not
You've
really.
been playing there. All right.
Break out the
Cool.
pirate Yakuza.
Yeah. So I kind of wish I would have. I mean, it's always great when you can actually make the embargo. I think that's the first time I've ever made an actual like embargo the day of.
Right.
So cool. Thanks to Jordan Ando as well for doing his part in the. We basically did a tag team review. He did everything except for the gameplay. Um, and I did a lot of the gameplay stuff, which I wish I would have had the knowledge that I have now with playing the game, being much further in it and having done a lot of the side stuff. Some of it that I had not even encountered by the time I wrote
Right.
that, but and it's also gotten deeper into like the Sea Dog, the one with the actual weapons fighting style, which I wind
Yeah.
up I think liking just as much. I think at first I had said I liked the Mad Dog style, which is the more traditional
Yeah,
Yakuza.
the melee. You like
Um,
the sword one now?
I like the sword one a lot more just because when you're doing the side stuff, especially because you're dealing with like hordes of enemies essentially
Right.
all the time. And also when you do like the ship battles where you go on the actual ship, you're dealing with a lot of enemies in a bunch. So there's this attack where you can throw the cutlasses at them and it takes out like chunks of enemies in one go. Uh,
Right.
and you can also power it up so you can make it to where it like takes out a heck of a lot more enemies at once. And it just makes it more fun that way. And I mean, it's the regular style is still a lot better for the one-on-one
Yeah, boss
fight,
fights. Right.
um, but it's or the bounties, which are like them basically just setting you up with different all around the entire city of Hawaii and even Atlantis. There's just these random guys that are there, and depending on how many there are, you can get like anywhere from like $64,000 in one fight to like 2,500 or whatever. And they have so many of them that you can. That's really how you get a lot of money really quickly is by doing a
Yeah,
bunch of
every
those.
Yakuza game can
Yeah.
eventually break the economy somehow.
Yeah, and it's fun because I've gotten like you also go around just like I think I said last week, just like the Sujimon stuff. You go around recruiting people for your ship, and I think I have enough for like 2 crews now. Um, I did the I really went and did the Aloha Links thing. So I got both the bartender and was there Key or K, um,
Right.
the girl that's there with you in the bar as well. So like they're part of my crew now and all this stuff. So it's like I maxed out pretty much everybody, and then I basically got to do a whole nother crew that now I can max out too, which is fun. And the Pirate Coliseum stuff is really fun too. Just because there's stuff, some of the ship battles in that thing are. It doesn't matter how durable you make your ship; they're pretty gnarly. I had to repeat them a few times, and there's some that I haven't even done yet, also, which are that makes it fun, just to be able to go through and know you still have a lot more stuff to do. I probably would have finished the story by now. It's not that long. It's like 15 hours. But man, there's so much side stuff to do that like you'll easily get lost
Yeah.
playing this game if you get heavy into it. So I would definitely honestly, I would say that this one, if you like the old beat 'em up style a lot more than the turn base, and you haven't played them in a while, even if you haven't played, Infinite Wealth, even though there's a lot of stuff that you're maybe not going to understand story wise, this is well worth just checking out because of how fun Majima is to play as, and then the ship stuff helps out with just giving you something different to do that you haven't really done in any of the other games. The only thing is like ship traversal feels like it takes a long time because you know you're in a ship. It makes sense that they would make it take a while because it does take a while to do that. I just wish that they would allow you to, if you wanted to, use the boost a lot more without it penalizing you. Just
I'm
because
sure. I'm
sometimes
sure
when
there'll
you're
be
trying to get
there'll be
yeah,
some option eventually that lets you just do that infinitely. I imagine.
yeah, they can add that in with a patch pretty
I was thinking
easily.
like some ship upgrade, like,
Yeah,
or
I mean, because as far as
recruit.
I know, unless they add more ship upgrades, the further I'm in chapter 3. I still don't know how many chapters are in this game, but like, um, I don't know if eventually your ship just gets upgraded automatically by itself without you having to do the upgrades. I've basically almost done everything I can to that ship as far as I know. I've like got a few more durability ones left, but that's pretty
Right.
much it. And like I said, unless they put stuff on the ship that you get later so that you can beat Samoa Joe and some of the other characters I haven't encountered yet, or I have, but I haven't encountered them outside of just the little story part that they're in. I don't know, but yeah, still enjoying it. So if you want some Black Flag and you haven't played Black Flag in a while, this one's a good one to get with the fun combat as well. So yeah, that's it for my thoughts on Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza there. And that's pretty much all I've been playing. I meant to play, I was going to play the Carmen Sandiego game just to have something different to talk about, but like I started it and then I was like, it's just kind of difficult to do while I'm doing other things. They're staring at my phone doing this because it doesn't come out on consoles for like another 10 days, I think. So
plus it's missing Rockapella, so why bother?
Yeah, it is missing the most important part. But hey, they modernized some stuff in it from what I could tell. Obviously it helps that game was like 95.
It's older than that. Carmen Sandiego's older than that. That's like
no, I'm talking about the game, the PC game.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Is it? It's even older than that? Okay. Well, I just remember playing it as a kid. I don't remember exactly what year that game came out. I totally, because I got like 3 emails to like if I wanted a review code, and I was like,
Carmen Sandiego came out in 1985.
The game, the PC game.
Yeah.
No, they had to have another game that like.
No, they did. They made sequels, or they made
Okay.
They basically kept, but yeah, it was like an old.
I know I played one of the ones that was like more in line with the cartoon.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, it feels like that one's kind of modeled after those with like obviously some touch control stuff, which I'm assuming you'll just use with the controller, on the consoles. So yeah, that comes out March 4th on things that are not your phone. But if you have Netflix and you're kind of interested, it is free. If you have the Netflix that allows you to get the games as well. And some of them, I don't know if this is one of the ones, I didn't try it, see if it was there on my TV, but they have, if you have a smart TV, they do have it to where you can play games on your TV as well. So yeah, that's about it for the game stuff. Let's go ahead, I guess, and get into these since they're the most recent things here. I actually had no idea until I was watching, I think it was Xbox era. I just to see, if they had any thoughts on the Xbox showcase. I had no idea that there was an Annapurna one until I watched their thing, and I was like, why is there like 3 spaces here? And there's an Annapurna one, so I went back and watched that. Hey, there's still some good stuff coming from them. They always have some interesting games as far as like the artsy indie stuff. Been kind of always interested in Wheel World since I first saw it. It used to be called like Ghost Bike or something like that before, and they changed the name. It makes more sense why it's called Wheel World, because you're like going around the world with a bicycle. But it still looks really good. It's coming to Game Pass. It is coming this year, so that's always a positive. They did announce some stuff that we don't have release dates for, but at least we know this one's coming out, and it does have a new demo on Steam because this is part Steam Next Fest is going on as well at the same time. So you can go check that out. Wonder Stop is probably the one that's coming out the soonest, March 11th, and that's coming out on PS5, PC, and it was not coming out on Xbox previously. That was a new addition. This is like you're making tea, but then also there's like stuff happening to you at the same time. This one also has a demo on Steam. the roguelike mouse game, which I was interested in and was going to ask for a review code until I found out that they delayed it indefinitely. This game's just coming out in 2025 at some point. So hopefully it comes out this year. It looked interesting the first time we saw it at the Xbox showcase in last June. So, but with the stuff that's been going on with Annapurna and them having to change personnel and all that stuff, some of these games were bound to be affected. Skin Deep still looks good as well. That's that weird like you're in a spaceship, it's a shooter, you're trying to save people, but you're also like kind of just given freedom to do that however you want. And it looks kind of cool. And then Sayonara Wild Hearts has been brought back for PS5 like remaster with an exclusive mode that was kind of out of nowhere as well. So yeah, they had some other games. The 2 T got another trailer. That's the Katamari Damacy creator game. So yeah, if you're into the Annapurna stuff, this is well worth checking out. It's like 20 minutes, so it doesn't take that long either. But probably the more like wide-reaching one for people is the ID at Xbox One. These are done by IGN now, so there's IGN ads in here. So just get ready to fast forward when that happens. They did show off 33 Immortals, and that's coming March 18th. So another game that's going to be coming out that I'm interested in while I'm not able to play stuff. But yeah, this is if you haven't seen it yet, well worth checking out the trailer. It looks really fun. Basically horde mode with 33 people, and it looks like Hades, sort of.
Right.
So yeah, that looks fun. Balatro is now out on Game Pass. So if you have not played Balatro yet, you have Game Pass. You have no excuse. Go play that. They announced another one of those Friend of Jimbo things, which includes Fallout and Assassin's Creed. So
yeah, they're going the Magic the Gathering route.
And Civ 7 also. I mean, they are really doing it with these partnerships. They're getting everybody and it doesn't surprise me that Ubisoft and Xbox are obviously trying to get into the picture. Anything that you can do to further your franchises at all helps out there, especially with what Ubisoft keeps going through, honestly. Also, Blueprints is not only coming to PS Plus, but it's coming to Game Pass now as well. April 10th. That's that cool, like cel-shaded-y looking puzzle game that they showed off at the State of Play last time we saw it. A game that looked really awesome that doesn't have a release date right now, but it is coming to PC and Xbox Game Pass is Buckshot Roulette. It kind of gave me like Inscription vibes. With like just like a really dark tone, and you're literally going around with roulette, and you can play with friends as well, with a shotgun, and seeing, I guess, who's gonna be the one that gets killed. But it looks neat, like interesting kind of thing there for that.
Yeah,
Echo Weaver was right up your alley there. It's like a roguelike Metroidvania. Looks cool. It's coming to Game Pass. So I don't know. I'm sure you'll probably see it and eventually want to check it out as you usually do with these. Well, hopefully.
I don't have Game Pass, so it's immaterial to me.
Well, you could always get a code or something. A game that I've been excited about since they announced that this was an idea. Hotel Barcelona having Swery 65 doing like the story, and then having Suda 51 like getting to put his craziness in there, and then both of like just two insane minds getting to work together on one game. I think this was supposed to come out last year, and then nobody, they never said anything about it, and all of a sudden, they just get an announcement here, which that's cool. Love that we know it's just coming in 2025. They didn't really say anything other than that. But hey, it looks insane. That's all that matters with this. They're living up to that expectation at least. I want to see what the story is going to be like, because if it's anything like Swery 65's other stuff, it's going to be awesome on that front too. Just kind of don't know what to expect, but yeah, if you like those action like side scroller games, this is going to be up your alley with the crazy stuff as well. Insane characters. So yeah, glad we got to see this for sure on there. Any other stuff of note really is the thing that they ended it on, which makes sense. It was like their biggest kind of known game is Liza P Overture. This is that, like, I don't know if they call it, like, is it DLC or
what's like an expansion or
yeah.
A week and a half ago or whatever. So who cares?
They basically kind of hint that it looks like it's going to have co-op. They don't outright say it in the trailer. They don't like have any text that says, "Oh, this is co-op." Also no release date, or well, they gave a release date the last time, which is I think summer. But they didn't hear, so I wonder if that means they kind of delayed it without saying it. But yeah, interesting that they showed two characters, so I'm assuming that means co-op, but they didn't just say it either. So gonna be cool if that either means that maybe they're introducing a new character here, or it just means you're gonna get to play co-op, which that's fun too. Also shout out to Moonlighter 2 and getting world premiere treatment along with Lonesome Guild, which Lonesome Guild looks cool. It's like an action RPG with different animals, and you're like a ghost. You have to use these animals to kind of traverse the world because the ghosts can't interact with the world, obviously. So, yeah.
Apparently, they never played Ghost Trick before.
Apparently not. Got some game. The only game that showed off like actual gameplay during this is Ratatan, which is like essentially just like an indie version of Patapon. And the music works with that to boot as well. Revenge of the Savage Planet, which is a sequel to Journey to the Savage Planet. That's coming to Game Pass on May 8th. And some other cool stuff as well. So definitely worth checking out. Even some stuff that's not coming out till next year was shown off in here. Wax Head looked pretty interesting there too. So yeah, this one's about 30 minutes long. Not something that's going to take too much of your time, but if you enjoy indies or any of this stuff that I described sounds interesting to you, go give it a whirl over there. I'm sure you can find trailers for the individual games too. So, well, let's get on with the news here. And unfortunately for Ubisoft, the bad news just keeps coming when it comes to Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now the game has released early, at least almost a month early for a lot of people. And we're not talking about review codes. We're talking about actual just the street data isn't broken, and
yeah, there were copies of on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah,
like that's how some dude got it or sold them for $100.
Yeah, exactly. And I
see this because I actually did read like the Reddit post. It's kind of a good news, bad news thing where like, yeah, it got leaked, but actually like the early response has actually been like very positive. So that's good, I guess. Like,
yeah, that's a good thing. I mean, the previews were also like mixed, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, you can't trust Game Press, so
Yeah, exactly. So it felt like that was from what I got of it. A lot of people were saying, well, if I like Assassin's Creed, I'm probably gonna like it. If you're one of those that's like coming into this only because of the Japan stuff, maybe you won't if you don't necessarily want to play with Yasuke, which the game doesn't necessarily seem like it forces you. It lets you play with either one. Well, but you can play with mostly the other one if you don't want to. If you don't want to play with Yasuke that much. There's just certain sections it feels like where you have to play it as him. But I mean, look, they've delayed this enough. It seems like it's not going to be delayed any further now because people have already got it. So I assume that means they're going to for sure.
This is another example of why it's a bummer. Or like I have a digital copy waiting for me,
Yeah,
and it's always fun from like an archivist perspective to like compare the physical version, what you get in the disc versus whatever they put out, like the day one patch.
yeah. Especially because that's one thing Ubisoft noted is like, hey, just letting you know that does not include the day one patch. So people are gonna be playing like I guess with some things that are hopefully not going to be in the final version, like some bugs and
Right.
other things. But I mean, this kind of has been the MO for Assassin's Creed for this game. They already had like the DLC, what the first DLC probably is going to be leaked. So, hopefully enough people can get the game to where it looks like the pre-orders, as far as what they're saying, are right up there with Odyssey. So at least there's positivity around the game, like interest in the game, and like you said, having the game be out there for the public to play lends itself to now you get the people that are actually really interested in the game to get out there and give their thoughts on it. So there's that, but obviously avoid spoilers if you don't want to be spoiled for anything.
I heard you kill people in that game.
Yeah, right. But I'm sure there's going to be people. There's Twitch streams that Ubisoft may have not have taken down. There's people probably just putting out spoilers. So just be weary, I guess, of that. Moving on here, we're going to get into a big section that has to do with Xbox or Xbox sort of adjacent, since they own Activision as well. The once thought dead Tony Hawk 3 and 4 remasters may possibly be back, and they may be even getting a announced date, even to the point of like there's a map that was put into Call of Duty also, which is interesting that they're just putting like a Tony Hawk map in there. But this is according to not only a leak of like apparently Iron Galaxy is involved, but also from one of the skaters that did work for the game. Basically, just said it on a podcast where he's like, "Well, I'm gonna be in a Tony Hawk game that's getting announced soon," and then all of a sudden on a website there's a post showing
it's like March 18th or something.
Yeah, exactly,
I
March 18th. So hey,
that's cool. I mean, I guess it's rumored that there might be like new levels also, but even if it's the old 3 and 4 levels, that's still fine. Again, it's a good example of finally giving people what they want. People wanted 3 and 4 with those mechanics, like the revert and whatever the hell 4 had. I think it had like the wall slap or something.
Do you worry about it at all, not being Vicarious Visions doing it, or?
No, because I'm sure they have. Well, I don't think Vicarious Visions is still around, is it?
Well, they're like absorbed into Blizzard, so
right.
Yeah.
So that's one problem. I mean, also, Iron Galaxy just went through layoffs, so this probably helps them quite a bit.
Right. I mean, but most of the work that they would have done most of the work that they're like doing, a lot of it's probably done by now.
Mean,
maybe they're.
I think there were even like rumors back then that like they were kind of working on 3 and 4 levels. So, I think what people want.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I think people want 3. People are more mixed on 4. Like that wasn't the greatest one, but if they can get underground 1 and 2 levels in there, go for it.
That's what I was going to ask you. Was there any other Tony Hawks that, if we're going to be down the remaster train, that you want to see? Or
Thug 1 and Thug 2, they did like Thug 1 is cool because it was like that was like the first like open Tony Hawk game where you didn't have like a timer. You could just do whatever you wanted. And then Thug 2 had like the whole like Thug 1 also had like the open city idea. And then Thug 2 went further on that, and then they had like a story mode with like Bam Margera. So you can finally get HD Bam Margera, and that's what everyone really wants.
I wonder if they have to like relicense, if they have to talk to Bam about like.
So I would say probably not necessarily. I mean, they probably signed a deal with him way back then. But I mean, the thing with like those games, like the soundtrack, like a lot of stuff you get what you can get, you know.
Yeah, like how much is Microsoft going to shell out for having the exact soundtrack or whatever? You know, that's the.
See, I don't think you don't need the exact soundtrack. You just need like most of the big hits. But even then, like I couldn't, outside like Tony Hawk 3, I think like I couldn't name any damn song off the later sound, soundtracks. So whatever.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's cool. Again, like you said, giving people what they want. Activision tried to find another studio to work on 3 and 4 when they decided. It's so weird because it's like you guys decided to go and absorb Vicarious Visions into Blizzard, and then you're going around going like, I guess thinking that it was going to be easy to find another studio to work on it, and they allowed pitches and stuff, but apparently I guess nobody fit the bill, so they just decided to kind of put it aside, and then out of nowhere it's been relifted. So look, if this is going to help bring back some Activision games that we haven't seen in a while, then I'm good with that.
It's still funny that I mean, even if this is just the announcement of 3 and 4 HD, it'll probably still come out sooner than Skate 4. So
you're not wrong there. Sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of licensed things, though, Call of Duty Black Ops 6. They have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles skins that you can buy for the operators. You cannot buy them all together. You have to buy them each individually. And if you were to buy them each individually, it's going to cost you somewhere around like $87.
Yeah.
If the points continue on the same route that they are. Bear in mind that Street Fighter 6 also had content for TMNT, and that was almost $100. So it's not like it's that steep, but also 87 to $90 is not nothing to sneeze at. A lot of people were complaining about like, say this is why Call of Duty needs to be free to play or whatever because you're charging. So it's like, come on, man. You also don't need to have these.
Well, if you're a big fan of Wrath, you do. No, I mean, people look at all the stupid skins and bullshit in Fortnite, and people gobble that up like crazy. I have a friend on Facebook begging people for money to buy some stupid skin in it just now. So, and a skin in that's like $20. So, 5 skins because it's like all the 4 turtles and then I think Splinter as well. Yeah. So if it's $90, hey, that's still $10 cheaper than Fortnite.
Yeah, it's true.
And at least in this game, at least in Call of Duty, like the costume matters because each turtle and Splinter has like their own power.
Exactly.
So, and I think the skins look good.
That's the thing I'll give Call of Duty. I mean, when they bring out a skin, they do it well. They don't just half-ass it. And again, some of these things have been some of the highest selling things ever for Call of Duty. So, I mean, if you're them, you guys are the ones paying for that, right?
Yeah.
You're complaining about something that is going to fall on deaf ears essentially because that's not coming down. I'll tell you that right now. But hey, it is what it is, So the interesting thing, I guess, with Microsoft this week is that they introduced an AI program called Muse, not to be confused with the rock band. They introduced it, interestingly, with a Ninja Theory game called Bleeding Edge that nobody cared about. It was in the early days of live service multiplayer ish stuff. Died very quickly. But apparently, I guess the tech that they used to, for that game kind of stayed around, and Phil Spencer was there showing off like how they use data with AI to like actually show you how it work with gameplay, and how they can change things in the game without like having to mess up a lot of the assets or whatever,
Yeah.
essentially kind of allowing you to make a game quickly. So I guess the interesting part of this is that they could use this to bring back some of the older franchises without having to spend a ton of money. Which I guess that's cool if you want to bring that to current consoles. My issue with it always is, where does this wind up becoming where this becomes lucrative enough to where it's like you're costing people jobs because now they don't need the human hands to do it if you've got AI that can do it well enough. Does this concern you at all? Do you think it could actually be used for good? Like bringing back some old franchises, doing remasters without having to have people waste time doing them?
Remember that Project Spark thing like a decade ago that Xbox had?
Yeah, where they thought adding Conquer was going to be the big motivator to.
Yep. I could see this thing being useful in some like a respect of like not demoing a game, but like prototyping a game out or building like the basic idea of something. But like in their minds, like, oh, we have this, this game engine or this game thing can just make, remake Blinks or remake Bloodwake or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
But it's like all these things are going to kind of feel the same then. Like, and also like AI done like remasters don't work well. Look at what happened to GTA, like the San Andreas trilogy thing, or whatever the hell that was. Like that was a
and then
disaster.
somehow the mobile ports wound up being better than, because I think Netflix paid extra money to make sure they were done well.
Right. I mean, I think the GTA ports are better now.
Yeah.
But
look how much work had to go into that after the fact.
Yeah. So, okay, they released the AI pass, which probably cost already some money, and then they had to go back with real people and do it better. So it's like, shouldn't you just done it right the first time with real people? Like,
yeah, exactly. I think my worry is that like, okay, now you're going to do the way that a lot of AI is used now, where it's like, oh, this is to aid the people, and that's fine if you're going to do it to have it be like the menial task that nobody wants to do, that's kind of boring. But we know the end goal is to eventually make it to where that's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Right.
So
I think it's good in theory in some respects, but only like very limited. And I think like them trying like make some commercial product out of it, or make some like, oh, we have the Muse engine, or we can just plug in an old ROM of a game and it'll spit out like some 4K version of it or whatever. Like, no, that'll never happen.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like anything else that Microsoft's been doing when it comes to like, it's the same thing with like cloud.
So you mean it's pure evil?
It's not that, just that this is another way for them to like, if we can get this to work, it's open source, so we can license this out to people, and anybody could potentially make a game, right? I don't know. I would worry about. Go ahead, sorry.
We're gonna finally put those RPG maker fuckers out of business.
Yeah, exactly. With that new one that just came out a couple days ago as well. I think Satya Nadella even talks about, oh, this is like the wow moment for this, when he saw Phil Spencer like doing stuff with it. Obviously he's making this seem like bigger deal than it is right now. Obviously, he compares it to like when we saw Chat GPT put out words for the first time, or other uses of AI or whatever. Even Joseph Fares, who has a game coming out also on March 6th, Split Fiction, he talks about we should actually be embracing AI and not pushing against it, which is interesting. With his
wait until he gets pushed out of the company, out the door.
yeah, that's the thing that I thought of too. Like, wait till EA figures out how to use this right, and then you're not around to
Okay,
continue.
we need a game with co-op and give us a setting and 2 characters. Let's do this.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm of the mind of like, again, you want to use it to help people and do like Ubisoft's idea of, oh, nobody wants to write the stuff for the NPCs, right? That stuff's boring.
But
But
like that didn't work in whatever Watch Dogs Legion.
yeah, it
So
didn't.
that was actually like hugely distracting and like one of the critical problems of that game.
And also, that's not the point. Like, they want to be able to get to the point where they're writing the whole stories with that.
Right.
Right? Like, they already have enough issues as it is. I think that would just compound them even more. So, but look, if it does actually make it to where you get decent remasters and makes it to where you could have current gen versions of games that you can't play anymore, like Blinks, like Blood Awake, like insert other game here. Sure, cool, whatever. As long as they are decent quality, right? And for the people that want to play them, I guess, because I'm sure that would cost them a lot more money if you're going to have actual people working on those and taking. You have to go through the process of like, oh, this now has to make money. Whereas instead of it being like this kind of novelty thing that we're putting to say we can put that on Game Pass or whatever,
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see how that goes. This is obviously in its infancy. But obviously with anything AI, you just gotta kind of worry about what that's gonna mean for the future. Speaking of the future, we still don't know what Nintendo Switch 2's price is or when it's going to release. We have theories. Mark and I gave predictions for that at the kind of beginning of the year. And according to a former person that worked in the sales retail department, also named Sean, he says that right now, even if you see Walmart Canada come out with a leak or whatever, they don't know the release date. And they probably wouldn't know. They're going to be the last to know, he says. And if they know anything, they might know a couple of days before the April 2nd Direct, just to let them know, in case Nintendo does decide to put pre-orders out that day. But he says that expect June as the launch, maybe mid-June, a little bit later. But he says for sure before August it's coming out. I know that's not when you said. I did say June. I know that's not when you said, but any thought now, like with them saying this April Direct, you really think they're gonna wait till October, November for this?
Yeah, still. Because there's probably still, I mean, Nintendo might have their shit together with games, but other companies might not. And they probably want to give them more time if they need it. Or, it depends on what other, if EA and Activision say, like, hey, we got nothing cooking for this thing. Or, like we have a Madden, but it's a scaled back, crappy version. They'll be like, well, can you get it done in 3 months? Or,
Yeah, that's the thing too, is like by then you're talking about, well, if it's gonna come out in the summer, it has to be Madden 25.
Right.
If it comes out around the time when the season's gonna start, it would be then Madden 26.
Well, not just Madden, but I just mean like
Yeah.
insert any game, like
Right, like yeah, if they're gonna do a version of Black Ops 6 or some other older Call of Duty to bring out on that,
yeah.
give them time to do those kind of things.
Yep.
I don't know. I think that they probably might have enough faith with the Nintendo lineup that they know they're gonna have by then, and have enough. They don't need a huge amount of third party at launch. For them, it's just like with Switch 1, it was about the launch window, not necessarily launch day. that always happens where you have games come out launch day that like nobody remembers until you go looking up the list of stuff, So we'll see how that goes, but I think if you have that Nintendo lineup done and you're coming out with Mario Kart 9, Metroid, Prime 4 Beyond, and maybe Pokemon or whatever in that time, and you got Mario in your back pocket there somewhere, if you don't have like 50 third-party games, I think you'll be fine even then. So I'm sure they will, but I'm just saying, regardless of when they come out, they'll be good, I think. Speaking of finding out when things are going to come out, maybe we'll find out on Thursday when Pokemon ZA is going to come out, because that's when they're going to do the Pokemon Presents. What's weird is usually there's a Nintendo Direct that goes along with the Pokemon Presents. So like it is still weird that they're not like kind of telling you, hey, this is what's coming for the rest of the until April 2nd for Switch 1. We do know that, I guess, but I guess they don't really want to make it known that there's a bunch of Switch 1 games outside of the two big ones that we know of still coming, maybe. But like I don't really see the harm in if they would have done a direct that says, okay, here's what's coming till the summer for Switch 1 while you're waiting on Switch 2. I don't know. Do you see the point? Do you like think it's weird we didn't get a direct right now, or should they really be waiting until April for everything?
No, they're gonna wait because they already did that one small one, a month ago or whatever, where they just showed the thing off for the 30 seconds.
Yeah, the like 2-minute thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm assuming ZA is going to get a big blowout on this because I mean the other stuff, unless they announce again like surprise.
I mean, even like the last Pokemon game had issues running though, so it's like I can see why they might want to like hold off as much as they can.
That's the interesting part. Is this going to tell us something about how Switch 2 and Switch 1 games are going to work? Is there any kind of upres that's going to happen when you play a Switch 1 game to the Switch 2 or not?
I imagine like frame rate will be better, but it's not going to be like 4K. It won't look any different per se, except just running better probably.
I mean,
unless they have like a specific mode,
To be fair, that's really what a lot of these games need. Honestly, is they need.
I don't see Nintendo doing that.
Yeah. I mean, it is going to have that DLSS supposedly. So would that automatically make it run at a better frame rate or whatever without them having to do a whole lot of work?
That's what I mean. It won't be like you gotta let's say you put this thing in a Switch 2, you have to download some upgrade patch or upgrade thing. But no, they don't want to do that.
Yeah,
it'll be automatic, and you might have like one or two options that you say like prioritize visuals or prioritize frame rate. And that'd be about it.
Yeah, maybe. That'll be also interesting to see for Nintendo games if we get to that point where we're going to be doing the frame rate and quality mode thing. I could see them doing some of that with maybe not the first party, because I think they're definitely going to want to at least do the Sony $10 upgrade. Like I can't imagine they're not going to have some kind of upgrade path for some of these games like Odyssey and the Donkey Kongs are all old. But
I think it'll just be the same thing. Like they'll just have newer versions, and that'd be it.
You think so? That is full price or like half price?
I could see half price for like if they want to put like Zelda Breath of the Wild back out, I could see it being like $30 or $40, but not $70.
Yeah, no, I mean that's ridiculous. I mean, Nintendo could probably get away with it. There's going to be some weird Nintendo fans that are going to.
Look at Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Yeah, of course people they'll get away with it, but
okay, but that's different. There's still a lot of people that like don't ever want to play their Wii again, right? The Wii U don't. So like that's those
stuff from the Wii U. That's a case where like the Wii U didn't sell well.
Right.
So yeah, it's like this is the best way to play this game. But like, Zelda sold, or
Right.
Mario Odyssey sold, but
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, let's see if we get a surprise Pokemon answer because there's not a whole lot like going into this. It's just ZA and then okay, all the other like free to play stuff. Usually they have something like in their back pocket that they're gonna
this is where they finally announced Detective Pikachu 2 is coming at you.
yeah, or maybe the long awaited Pokemon Let's Go Johto games that feel like somebody has said is coming for a long time. Or who knows, maybe just a little bit of a tease for what would be Gen 10. Could be that as well. But I'd imagine those would be your Switch 2 if you're gonna do Gen 10. So I just don't see the point. And if you're doing Gen 10 and you already know what happened with Scarlet and Violet, why even bother having those come out on the Switch and have the problem that you had happen again? So we'll see. I'd imagine ZA will be the last full-fledged big Pokemon game on those
Yeah.
systems. But moving on from that to a Chinese company, NetEase. It's interesting because NetEase basically like. So we had a report from Bloom. Well, okay, it was some the director and like a few members of the American team that worked on Marvel Rivals went on like Icon Era and started making posts about how they had been let go.
Right.
Nobody said anything to confirm it other than okay, these people are making posts about that, right? And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, NetEase comes out with, "Hey, we just did bonkers numbers on Marvel Rivals. Uh, our games and related services net revenue was like 1.2 billion, which is 2.9 billion US dollars for the 3 months ending in December 31st, which a month of that includes Marvel Rivals."
Right.
And then all of a sudden they in a like little blurb after the fact, they kind of say almost like poo-pooing the layoffs, like it's not really a big deal. That they were scaling development efforts back in North America.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
I saw that little chestnut.
and it's like, oh, we recently made the difficult decision to adjust Marvel Rivals development team structure for organizational regions reasons that optimize development efficiency for the game. I'm not even going to acknowledge the fact that the grifter dude put out something
Grifter, dude?
about
Like, there's so many.
Grums, the main
Oh,
grifter dude.
yeah, the stupid WoW guy who claims that he's just some genius developer and hasn't made shit in 20 years.
Well, he was sitting there putting out like that. The Chinese company was calling the Americans lazy and woke and all this other stuff. That's why they got fired. And I doubt it that they use those words. I wouldn't be surprised if the workflow stuff is true, right?
I
I
could see
mean,
possibly the
yeah,
lazy part, or it's just different business or different work ethic or something. But
yeah,
like,
exactly. I mean, think about it.
I doubt the Chinese were like sending the email like you got fired for being part of DEI, or you supporting that or bullshit like that. Like,
Yeah,
no.
it's like no, I doubt that that's what they said. Do they have different work ethics? I'm sure there are. I
Right.
do Americans have different standards for working hours and things like that? Yes, certainly.
Yeah.
Anybody that knows any kind of work culture beyond the one that you live in would definitely be able to agree to that. Um, does that help them streamline things to have it all more of the company be based where you are? Yes, of course it does.
But
Right?
the problem, I think
Yeah.
one problem is that like the game is massive in America. Like you don't have your pulse on the American consumer or what Americans would want out of the game.
Yeah,
I
that's true.
The more nutty thing is when I saw the Kotaku thing, like that the deal was like like Marvel Rivals almost didn't come to fruition, like at the last second because Marvel wanted more of the pie and NetEase didn't want to pay for it. So NetEase like created their own characters. It's like if that's true, that's fucking nuts. Because like who'd give a shit about that game if it didn't have Marvel characters in it?
Exactly. It would just be any other hero shooter if it didn't have the Marvel characters
Right.
in it. So
It just has like the Chinese knockoffs instead of the actual characters. Instead of Black Widow, it'd be like Black Spider or Widowmaker or something. Or
yeah,
wow, Overwatch already has Widowmaker, I think, or
yeah,
so.
exactly. Yeah, I mean that's the other part of this too is that they went even a step further because Bloomberg then came out with an article essentially saying that I think also VentureBeat and GameFile, I'm sorry, GameFile is the one that reported this that they are not supporting the Japanese studios either,
Yeah.
which includes the Negoshi studio that hasn't been around very long.
Well, God only left like 2 years ago, so
Yeah, like, and also Grasshopper, which this is Suda 51 studio. Um, the Marvelous board member Toshinori Aoki setting he has his own studio. Another one that's led by Dragon Quest 8 and 9 producer Ryotaro Ichimura. Like all of those are pretty much like not being given any more funding, and that they are going to just kind of wrap up the ongoing projects, but that's it, according to
yeah.
Bloomberg. And that NetEase spoke to GameFile to say that all of their studios departments are constantly in review and evaluation, and then NetEase is going to determine, whatever they're going to do with that. It just feels like NetEase is kind of cutting back on anything that's not Chinese, which that's not great. You set up all these studios in Japan, and then we already know what happened with Ouya Studios.
But they had the I mean, one reason would be like they probably saw the massive success of Black and Wukong. I was like, hey, you can do that. So,
Right.
or we can try to do that. So let's do
And
that.
they have a lot of studios. Like it's like God, like 50, almost 20. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, not ridiculous. It's a lot. It's just really in that amount. And then a lot of them are headed up by, Japanese studio heads. Some, Bad Brain Games has Watch Dogs and driver producer Sean Kirk on it. Anchor Point Studios, which has the Control Lead designer or former Control Lead designer Paul Ethereth, he said that his studio is not impacted. They're still growing and everything. But yeah, it makes you wonder, like, what is it exactly? Liquid Source just went through like a restructure or whatever. We talked about that last week. So it's like, yeah, NetEase is just in a weird place right now. It's like we'll just see how all that kind of shakes out, but it is just weird. You're announcing. It's always weird when it's like Marvel Rivals makes so much money, but somehow people can't still keep their jobs. It's like, what do you have to do in this industry to not have layoffs right now?
Create our own company.
Yeah, but what does that say? Like no company that's like actually still standing can't just go around not having. I mean, it feels like unless you're a Japanese studio, you have to have layoffs.
Go to Japan.
And, yeah, it's like insane, man. It's crazy. I wonder where this stops at some point. Like, where does the bleeding stop? Because we're not done with that. Surgeon Simulator's Bossa Games is once again, according to co-CEO Enrique Olifers, he's blaming it on a fundamental transformation of the games industry in the past couple of years. They are scaling back the development teams to focus on Lost Gods, which is a cooperative survival adventure game. I guess we'll see how that goes for them.
I
Yeah.
I mean, they're having layoffs, but like, yo, I don't think their games are good, or their games are like a joke.
A
Like,
certain simulator is okay, right?
no, it's a joke.
Yeah.
It's not like a serious simulator game. If it was, I would actually be kind of for it. But it's like this like weird physicsy bullshit.
Yeah, I
And the
mean,
same
like
with
you could argue that Trauma Center is more of a actual simulation than that game
and like
is.
I am bread. It's like another joke. It's like
Yeah.
okay, but like I don't know why you expect these games to either do well or like sell outside of like the YouTube crowd,
Right.
or that's about it. So I reviewed I am bread, and I was like, I mean, as a concept, it might be fine, but like as a even like a $20 game, it's like no.
Yeah. It's like you said, it's kind of like a novelty thing that like, oh,
I
it's
mean, it's like
$5 on
equivalent of
Steam. Cool.
it's a goat simulator, or
Yeah,
like
exactly. Body parts are just flying all over the place, and you got to try to
right.
like call them back in, and it's like it's funny the first couple of times you see it, and
But then
then
after like the
but yeah,
first day, you just forget about it and move on, or like
exactly. It's that kind of thing is still decent in a way, but like you said, there's studios and games that do it better.
yeah,
Um, I mean, he's saying that basically once this game is out, that they're gonna basically make smaller teams and turn that into like I guess game jams where they try to figure out what they're gonna do next. But listen, he's not wrong about obviously turmoil's going on in the industry and stuff like that. We just talked about NetEase, but it's like
right.
some of this is on you as well. This isn't the first time you're laying off people. You laid off people at the end of 2023 as well. So,
And also, their last game was 2021. So
yep.
it's like, yeah, after 4 years of basically little to no profit, it's like, what do you expect?
Well, I mean, I can understand if they're like they've been working on this game right for a while.
But like, okay, but what happens when if the game fails? Because they sold off Surgeon Simulator and I Am Bread.
Unfortunately, that probably is going to mean more layoffs. Sadly,
No, I don't mean studio closure. Like,
yeah, yeah, I'm sure. Look, I hope for the people working on it that the game's fine, but
yeah,
we'll see how that goes, I guess. Netflix apparently also kind of quietly laid off some Night School Studio members. Of course, this is the folks that make After Party and Oxenfree
yeah,
and Oxenfree 2. Which unfortunately Oxenfree 2 didn't get enough love because it was on Netflix only.
yeah. What do you expect?
So, that kind of sucks. This
No,
is
it's
not
not.
yeah, go ahead.
Oxenfree 2 is and other stuff,
But
but
it was on Netflix first for a while, and
right.
then it came to other stuff, right?
Yep.
And it's like, okay, cool. It didn't have the love that the first game did. And Netflix
Right.
has been scaling back their gaming initiative. It's weird because like they scale some of it back. I don't know why they removed all their interactive stuff
Right.
randomly. And then but they're still putting out like Squid Game, and then obviously now they're really hoping that the WWE 2K game being like exclusively on mobile for them is going to be a big seller, which I'm sure it will do fine. They did great. The 2K games did decently as mobile games, especially that card game
Right.
does really well.
Supercard.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so if they can figure it out and tap into something, then I'm sure it will do fine. But it just sucks. Sad to hear that big company like Netflix is having to lay off members of a studio that they made a big deal about going to go get in 2021. So
Yeah, but like the second, like it's the second Netflix would be Smith and Artist Studio, I'd start polishing my resume because that shit ain't gonna last forever.
I just can't think of that. Like, I don't think Netflix is going to go buy another studio. I'd be very surprised if they go. I mean, they
No,
killed
I
the
think
AAA one.
I
Yeah,
think they will in like 3 years. They'll have like another reversal, and they go, "Oh, we're gonna We're gonna be big into games again, or no, they'll say we're gonna be big into games. Period. They're not gonna reference when they've tried this bullshit 2 other times in the past. But this is our time to get into games, and they'll fund like 3 or 4 games that won't move the market at all, and then they're gonna be like, all right, we're out of that again, and then the cycle will repeat in about 9 years, and then in about 15.
Yeah, I mean, like now that you've made the effort of putting them on TVs, I think that if that doesn't push you anywhere, I don't know what else you're really supposed to do aside from trying to get them on consoles
Right.
or PC. Like, at some point,
Which
it
is
kind
funny
of
because like
becomes a novelty. Go ahead.
that's what they're completely against. They don't want physical media at all. So
Well, I mean, they don't have to have physical media; it can be digital only on those
yeah, but they don't
systems.
even like want people to, like, own shit most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because, like, okay, Stranger Things, Squid Game,
Like
those are
you
franchises that people
you,
might
you
want to have
mentioned
that. Go ahead.
you mentioned that interactive stuff they used to have, like the interactive movies and whatever. Everything is gone except for Black Mirror Bandersnatch,
Yeah,
and I have a physical version of that. Uh, and that's like the one thing that's still available, but who knows for how much longer.
that's crazy, man. They used to make a big deal about having those.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, these just disappear. Okay,
Yep.
whatever. But yeah. I think that's. Oh no, let's go ahead since we have a lot of time. I guess. Captain America: Brave New World. I saw your post on Facebook about it.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think it's a particularly great movie, but it's not like the worst Marvel movie ever or anything like that.
yeah, I
But
definitely think that people just absolutely took it the wrong way. Like, I think the word mid works for this. If
there's
you
a
want to call
black
it that.
guy in the lead. That's why people don't like it.
Yeah, no, but I'm just. You're right about that. I'm just. We're not trying to. I'm trying to not make it a race thing. I'm trying to just,
Right.
let's talk about it for what it is. It is a quote unquote mid movie, right?
I
It's
mean,
not going to save Marvel,
I
but
think one problem
fine.
kind of is like there's a good action scene in the beginning, and a good action scene at the end, but the middle of the movie action scene kind of sucks, and it's not like there should have been like maybe like one more action scene as well. So
Yeah,
a lot of the movie just kind of felt boring.
yeah. My girlfriend that went with me, she was just kind of like, there's a lot of talking, not a
Yeah.
lot of action. She didn't fall asleep. A lot of times she does fall asleep in watching movies, which is why I don't really go to movies that much
Right.
with her. But she actually stayed up for the whole movie. She was just kind of like, all right, this was okay. I could have done with,
Yeah.
like you said, some more action scenes or whatever. Um, it does hint at, okay, this is the start of the phase. This is the start of bringing back the Avengers. Some of the story stuff hits for me as far as like the understanding of what Red Hulk is supposed to be, and the whole Sam thing and him going through that. His like trying to be Captain, like understanding what the Captain America being that
Like
means.
see, I like the idea of the Red Hulk, but like I thought that he should have been introduced like way earlier, maybe. And then like that battle was like it was good, but it's kind of empty, like very short.
Yeah,
Like it only lasts like
it was
four
like, oh,
minutes.
we have to have the battle, so
Yeah.
it's here, and then that's it. It's over. It's like maybe you could have teased it, like you could have actually done a harder tease where he does the whole hulking out thing before, when he's about to do it the first time,
Right.
and then have like maybe a teaser battle there, and then you can set up the bigger battle later. But
Plus,
you know,
plus it didn't even like show any of his powers, except to, like, I mean, yes, he's another Hulk, but he actually has distinct powers different from regular Hulk. So
yeah,
that would have been nice.
Well, I mean, he probably would have absolutely destroyed Sam too if he does one of those. So I think that's the thing, is like they got to make it seem sort of maybe believable that he could withstand the ones that he did deal with. Yeah, I like the reunion part. That kind of, like, if you hadn't, like, I had not watched that first Incredible Hulk movie in a long time, so like seeing some of those characters back again was kind of cool. You know, it's like you said, it wasn't a bad movie. Just it was kind of
They should have had a flashback and gotten Edward Norton back just for that one scene. That'd have been funnier.
Yeah. Also weird that, like, I mean, they're obviously going to do a face-off in one of the Avengers movies or whatever, but it's like also just weird to have a Red Hulk and not have Green Hulk appear at all, like in the movie. But you know, whatever the constraints are.
Maybe have him show up at the, like, did you watch the stupid after credit sequence or that little scene?
Yes, yeah.
Which felt like really tacked on and bad.
Yeah, it's like we have to have one.
I would have had Green Hulk showing up and be like, "Hey, we're going to teach you how to be relaxed Hulk," or something like that. You know, that'd been funny.
Yeah, I'm just very surprised they didn't have him show up at all in here.
Right.
Maybe he was supposed to, and they just cut it out or something. But
same with whatever the WWE wrestler guy, I forget his name. Seth Rollins. That's it.
Oh yeah, he wasn't in here either. So yeah, I mean,
it's fine, but if I won't see it again, or
no, I won't. I'm sure Thunderbolts will be the same way. It'll be fine.
I actually have a little more faith in that one, just because I like some more of the actors in it, and the guy that they're kind of hinting about is kind of a big deal. So I'm kind of curious how they pull it off.
Yeah. Then they tease the thing with what Bucky's going to be doing,
right?
Aside from the stuff with that movie, and then obviously the big one is how's Fantastic Four going to land?
Yep.
When that comes, so we'll see how that's all gonna, and who the new Avengers are gonna be, and all that stuff as time goes on.
Right.
But all right, I guess that's it for this week. Let's get into the thing we always end the show on here with the games that are coming out in this last week of February. Obviously, the big one that I don't really need to tell a lot of people about, the reviews are good. Great even for Monster Hunter Wilds that comes out on Friday. Should mention that Keith did the review for Outer Haven for that. It's up there on the site. It has an 89 on OpenCritic right now, with 95 people recommending it, or 95% people recommending it.
Right.
Some interesting scores, and most of it is around the 9s and 8s.
Yeah.
Some people are giving it a little bit lower because they didn't like the way that they do the grind in this thing, which is interesting. Seeing people complaining about the fact that they're too much stuff in there for newcomers, and it's like you can turn a lot of that stuff off. So,
right,
people complaining to complain, really. Aside from that, you have that Glover remaster, which also
gotta love the glove. Jim Ross said so.
Exactly. That's the real game everybody's waiting on. That's the Glover remaster. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Early Days collection also comes to Switch and PC on the 27th. So if you've been waiting on some Yu-Gi-Oh! To play, you definitely can go do that. Spectre Divide also comes out on the 25th. And that's really the bulk of it. Then we'll officially be into March, where we have a heck of a lot more games coming out in that month. So already that next week, like I said, Split Fiction. So it's if you thought, now we are really getting into like the review season, where it feels like every week we got something. So get ready, everybody, for all the people that got to get into that. But all right, until next week. See you later, everybody.
Later.
Bye.